Have you ever wondered about the complex intricacies of the Israel-Palestine conflict? This decades-long dispute, rooted in political, religious and cultural differences, has been a focal point in global politics, impacting not just the Middle East, but the world at large. The recent surge of violence, as seen in October 2023, has once again brought this conflict to the forefront of international conversations, triggering a spectrum of responses from condemnation to support. In the heart of this dispute lies the land both sides claim as their own, a land steeped in history and religious significance. But beyond the territorial claims and religious affiliations, this conflict echoes the broader themes of identity, self-determination and survival. The recent escalations initiated by Hamas and met with fierce retaliation by Israel have led to a tragic loss of life and widespread devastation, further deepening the divide and fueling the cycle of violence. As we navigate through this discourse, it's important to remember that behind the headlines and statistics are real people bearing the brunt of these conflicts. As we delve deeper into the conflict, we will uncover truths that are often overlooked. Did you know that the Quran declares this land for Israelis? A fascinating point to consider when delving into the religious aspects of the Israel-Palestine conflict. The Quran, a sacred text in Islam, remarkably also acknowledges this land as belonging to the Israelis, marking a noteworthy convergence between the two faiths. This isn't a mere coincidence, but an essential factor in understanding the historical and spiritual roots of this long-standing dispute. Israel, in a way, is a country that seems to be following their Old Testament, even though the Quran endorses it too. This intriguing intersection of religious beliefs sheds light on the complex layers of the conflict, and it's crucial to note that the implications of these religious scriptures are deeply embedded in the fabric of the Israel-Palestine dispute. The intertwining of faith, history and politics is a common thread in many global issues, and the Israel-Palestine conflict is no different. Understanding these religious dynamics and their influence on the geopolitical landscape adds another layer of complexity to the Israel-Palestine conflict. It's not just about land and borders, it's also about deeply rooted beliefs and interpretations which have been passed down through generations. As we delve further into this issue, we must strive to appreciate these nuances and complexities that contribute to the larger picture of this conflict. Understanding the religious dynamics adds another layer of complexity to the Israel-Palestine conflict. What role does Hamas play in the Israel-Palestine conflict? To understand this, we need to first delve into who Hamas is. Hamas, an acronym for Harakat al-Muqawama al-Islamiyya, or Islamic Resistance Movement, is a Palestinian Sunni Islamic fundamentalist organization. It was founded in 1987 during the First Intifada, a Palestinian uprising against Israeli occupation. Hamas has been at the helm of the Gaza Strip since 2007 and is often seen as a significant player in the Israel-Palestine conflict. Now, what is the role of Hamas in the conflict? The group's charter, updated in 2017, still calls for the liberation of Palestine and the establishment of an Islamic state, but it has signalled a willingness to accept a provisional Palestinian state based on 1967 borders. However, it's important to note that the group's actions often speak louder than its words. Hamas is known for its use of both political and violent means, including suicide bombings and rocket attacks. The organization is viewed as a terrorist group by many countries, including the United States, the European Union, and, of course, Israel. The conflict escalated significantly on October 7, 2023, when Hamas launched an attack that resulted in the loss of innocent lives. The world's response, notably muted. However, when Israel retaliates to these attacks, the outcry is significantly louder. This isn't to justify the actions of either side, but rather to highlight the uneven response to violence in the region. The role of Hamas in the Israel-Palestine conflict is pivotal. Their actions have led to significant escalations in violence and contributed to the ongoing tension. It's a complex situation, and it's important to remember that every action has a reaction, often leading to a tragic cycle of violence and retaliation. The actions of Hamas are a key driver of the conflict, leading to a cycle of violence and retaliation. What are the consequences of the Israel-Palestine conflict? The consequences of any conflict are far-reaching and profound, and the Israel-Palestine conflict is no exception. In terms of human life, The toll is staggering. Lives have been lost on both sides, and every life lost is a tragedy. The numbers are not just statistics. They represent fathers, mothers, sons, daughters, friends and neighbours. They represent dreams unfulfilled and potentials unrealised. These are people who had hopes and aspirations just like the rest of us. But the human cost doesn't stop at lives lost. The psychological impact on those living in the conflict zones is equally devastating. Imagine the constant fear and anxiety of living in a war zone, not knowing if your home will still be standing tomorrow or if your loved ones will still be alive. Imagine the trauma of seeing your community destroyed, your friends and family killed. These experiences leave deep psychological scars that can last a lifetime. Moreover, there's the impact on the community as a whole. Infrastructure is destroyed, making it difficult to access basic necessities like food, water and healthcare. Schools are closed, denying children the education they need for a better future. Jobs are lost, leading to economic instability. The social fabric of the community is torn apart, with trust and social cohesion eroded by violence and fear. Then, there are the political consequences. The conflict fuels resentment and hatred, creating a cycle of violence that is difficult to break. It undermines any efforts towards peace and reconciliation, making it even harder to find a resolution to the conflict. It also has implications on a global scale, affecting international relations and contributing to regional instability. In the midst of all this, there are stories of resilience and hope. People who, despite the adversity, continue to strive for peace and justice. These are the stories that give us hope for a better future, a future where the cycle of violence is broken and peace prevails. The human cost of the conflict is immense, with both sides bearing the brunt of the violence. How does the history of the Holocaust affect the Israel-Palestine conflict? A question that opens a Pandora's box of historical traumas and contemporary tensions. The Holocaust, a horrific genocide where 6 million Jews were systematically murdered during World War II, profoundly influences the Israel-Palestine conflict. It's essential to understand that the creation of the State of Israel in the aftermath of the Holocaust was seen by many Jews as a safe haven, a place to prevent such atrocities from happening again. But what is often overlooked is the role some Muslim leaders played during this dark period. Historical records reveal that there were indeed Muslims who aligned with Nazi Germany, driven by their anti-Semitic beliefs. However, like every facet of history, it's a complex narrative with individuals on both sides of the moral compass. The fact remains that these actions of a few do not represent the beliefs of all. Yet this historical context has left its mark on the Israel-Palestine conflict. The trauma of the Holocaust has entrenched a deep sense of insecurity among many Israelis, fueling the desire for a Jewish majority state as a guarantee against future persecution. This, however, has led to policies that Palestinians perceive as oppressive, creating a cycle of fear and retaliation that seems to have no end in sight. The Holocaust also plays a role in international perspectives on the conflict. The world's collective guilt over its failure to prevent the Holocaust has often influenced its stance on Israel, sometimes leading to accusations of bias. This is not to say that criticism of Israel's policies equates to anti-Semitism, but rather to illustrate how the shadows of the past can cloud the complexities of the present. Furthermore, it's critical to remember that while the Holocaust is a significant factor, it is just one of many historical and contemporary issues fueling the Israel-Palestine conflict. Understanding this context is vital to formulating balanced perspectives on this deeply entrenched issue. The Holocaust, a dark period in history, continues to cast a shadow over the Israel-Palestine conflict. Just as it's crucial to remember the atrocities of the Holocaust, it's equally important to strive for a future where all individuals, regardless of their ethnicity or religion, can live in peace and dignity. What are the complexities of the Israel-Palestine conflict? This question looms large as we navigate the labyrinth of historical, religious, and political threads that weave together this intricate tapestry of discord. Firstly, we must recognize that the Israel-Palestine conflict is not a mere dispute over land. It's a clash of narratives, each deeply rooted in their respective historical and religious contexts. The Old Testament, the Quran, and the very identity of being Jewish or Muslim are inextricably tangled in this conflict. Both sides believe they are in the right, and this conviction fuels the flames of the ongoing strife. The role of Hamas, the governing body of Gaza, further complicates the situation. While they are seen as defenders by some, others view them as instigators of violence. Their actions and the subsequent retaliation from Israel often result in a tragic loss of innocent lives. This cyclical pattern of attack and counterattack keeps the conflict alive with no end in sight. The consequences of this ongoing conflict are dire. Lives are lost, homes are destroyed, and deep-seated hatreds are formed. These scars of war can spawn a new generation of radicals, thus perpetuating the cycle of violence. The Holocaust, too, casts a long shadow over this conflict. The horrific genocide of 6 million Jews during the World War II has shaped Israel's determination to defend itself at all costs. Yet, the silence of certain nations during this dark period raises questions about their stance on the conflict today. Lastly, it's crucial to remember that there are no easy solutions to this conflict. The complexities are immense, and the path to peace is fraught with obstacles. The choices made by the Palestinians in electing Hamas, the responses of Israel, and the wider world's reactions all contribute to the intricate puzzle that is the Israel-Palestine conflict. In conclusion, the Israel-Palestine conflict is a complex issue with deep historical roots, and understanding it requires a nuanced and informed perspective. It is our hope that this discussion has shed some light on the multifaceted nature of this ongoing struggle.